Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming out today to our Outside the Barn series. This is our third session. Our first session was on March 22nd, where we talked about heirs property. Our second session was last week, April the 5th, where we talked about reconsideration of value. And this is our third session on careers in farming and appraising. Farming and appraising are the two least diverse professions in the country. They're actually one and two, but they are two of the most impactful when it comes to wealth building and accumulation. So the wealth building comes from the land and through real estate. We started this program in June of 2023, and it actually started with the reconsideration of value case that we worked on in Cincinnati, Ohio, with Mr. Terry Horton, who felt that his property was undervalued. And we did the reconsideration of value. Then that case went to the National Community Reinvestment Coalition. And from there, it went to HUD and to the Justice Department. And some of the publicity that we received from that case, we started to get calls across the country. And so as I started to travel the country, I noticed that there was nobody that represented black people in the valuation space. And as I traveled the country, it wasn't just a black issue. It was an undervaluation issue all across the board. So we started off advocating for black people. Now we advocate for the profession and everybody in and of itself. Black people in particular lose $400 billion a year due to undervaluation. That's $200 billion in real estate. Black farmers lose another $100 billion. And then the silent killer of wealth is heirs property. Over 70% of black people do not have wills or estates, and that property is tied up and lost due to fractionalized interest. So as we travel the country and learning and advocating, it has become a mission and a passion. So today we will talk about careers in both farming and appraising, and we have some young appraisers here, and I don't know if y'all like old or seasoned appraisers. We have some we have some more seasoned appraisers, and I'm very proud that the panel of appraisers that we have today, they represent the best in the country in the appraisal space, and they are truly thought leaders. I don't know how many of you all listen to Kendrick Lamar, but he says if you want to get up on game, you got to come to Atlanta. So we're going to put you up on some appraisal game here in Atlanta with a very dynamic panel today, and I hope it's helpful and beneficial. And I'm thankful that you all come out. I probably should have been sitting on the other end. They got me sitting between these two good-looking young men, so it's quite a bit of pressure. But I'm going to start with the young man to my left. I've had the pleasure of knowing and working with him probably for the last, I've been in Atlanta 18 years, so I've probably known Jeffrey for the last 15 years. He's the past president of the Empire Board of Realtors. He's a past national president for the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. But more importantly today, he's here as a farmer. And he works with brain fart. I'll let him tell you, but he works with the Farm Cooperative out of Albany with Shirley Sherrod's organization. And they were the first land co-op in the country. The first land trust in the country back in the early 70s. Her and her husband went to Israel to study the kibbutz and communal living, and they had 5,000 acres from early 70s to the late 80s, and due to discrimination from the USDA and FSA, they lost the farm, but they were part of the Pickford settlement several years later, and were able to go back and buy, is it 1,600 acres, Jeffrey? Mm-hmm. And they have a lovely facility down south and are thriving and doing quite well, and has just been a model for us and the rest of the country. So I've been blessed to be able to work with several economists. Our most recent podcast was with Andrew Mohammed, the ag economist out of the University of Tennessee. But one of our other economists, William Michael Cunningham, he likes to always tell me that the goal should not be to close the wealth gap. We should be working on improving the quality of life. And so that's something that we have adopted, because in order to close the wealth gap, it would take 500 years. But in order to close the poverty gap, it'd take $200 billion. That's exactly the amount of equity that is lost due to undervaluation. So I believe that we can solve poverty and improve quality of life by getting back to the farm, by doing cooperative living, by doing cooperative farming. We can do mixed-use rural development, housing, combined with farming, and imagine using your HOA fees to pay for a farm manager, and you can have fresh food farm to table. So these are the kind of things that we want to sort of work on and strive for, empowering us to be able to do better. So with that, I'm going to shut up and allow Jeffrey Hicks to tell you what he does. And he's just an incredible guy and a broker for, I believe, over 30 years now with Apollo Realty. But again, today he's here as a farmer and his capacity as a farmer.
Good morning, and thank you, Thaddeus, for inviting me here. Can you hear me? My name is Jeffrey Hicks. I guess I have 2 full-time careers now. I'm still an active qualifying broker at Apollo Associates Realty, a firm I've been associated with for 30 years. And I also farm full-time. I work in Albany, Georgia, go back and forth between Atlanta and Albany, where I work at New Communities at Cypress Pond in Albany, which is a farm that was founded by Charles and Shirley Sherrod. Both are, well, Charles Sherrod was actually from Richmond, Virginia, but Shirley is from Baker County down in southwest Georgia, and they founded several organizations down there in the early 60s. They were both civil rights pioneers in that area. But I'm going to specifically just jump into what I do. I was retained there as a farm educator. I started working there most recently, or just recently rather, in November of 2024. And I was brought down there to implement regenerative agricultural techniques on the farm. It goes without saying that many people are very concerned about where their food comes from and how it's grown. And in America today, most of the food we eat is designed and created very differently than probably what we understand. It starts with the seed, actually, in terms of how so many seeds are developed in this country today. And so I'm not able to control that part of it, but I can control how we grow it. And so I mentioned regenerative agriculture. And so regenerative agriculture is really taking advantage of everything that's behind you. This beautiful window, as I look at all this beautiful ecological space that we have here in Georgia, which are basically leaves and pine straw and everything that nature gives us, and feeding that back into the soil. And you take these products, these beautiful ecological products that we have in Georgia, and not all states have it, but we are very fortunate to have such a natural environment here that once we take nature, all the twigs, all the pine bark, all the leaves, the pine straw, the pine cones, your grass clippings and everything. Shred it up, break it down, and compost it, and feed it back into the soil. That it brings life to the soil. And so we are there to help regenerate this red clay that we have in Georgia, which is nothing wrong with it, because you can grow things in red clay. But when you combine that with composting natural materials, and many of us have heard about composting in the house, where you take your banana peel and a piece of lettuce and a grape and save it, which that's good too. And I do that, but I don't use those products too much because most of them are just a lot of water. And so I prefer to use what nature gives us and help amend that soil and break it down and get it to the point where there's life in it. And so it's a good thing when you see earthworms and slugs and bugs and living things in that soil. And when you put that crop or your plant or your seed in that, that is going to just produce a much healthier plant that's going to have a different type of structure than most of the plants that you get out the grocery store. I eat at Kroger. I shop at Kroger. And so I do buy fruits and vegetables from there. But if anybody have done any backyard gardening even, there's a different structure to the plant when you grow it in your own yard, and especially when you apply regenerative agricultural techniques. And so that I do that across a number of different what we call demonstration plots in Albany. And so one of the things that we try to do is help teach farmers how to improve the soil, use less pesticides, and also try to work with nature and do companion planting in such a way where you can attract insects that really control other pests for you, because some insects attract other insects that eat them. And so you help reduce your pest pressure by using nature to grow. Now, most of the food we eat is grown conventionally. It's grown in extremely large quantities. So if you have a farm out there with thousands and thousands of acres, is he going to attempt to grow without using pesticides? No. That farmer would lose a lot of their crop if they tried to do that. And so the whole economics of agriculture is based on yield, and you have to control insects from eating your profits, and therefore most conventional farmers heavily spray their crops. So most of the strawberries you eat, even the nuts that you eat that's in a shell, they're heavy use of pesticides is used in agriculture. And so that's big business in America. And so what we're attempting to do is on a smaller scale for those farmers that are not growing thousands and thousands of acres of corn and watermelon and collard greens and things of that nature. There are farmers that grow on a much smaller scale.
Jeffrey, what would you say the average size of small farms are?
In the U.S., you did give a very interesting statistic. In 1920, there was about 1 million black farms in this country. And today, there are only 46,000. And so black farmers represent about 1.4% of all farms in this country. And the average size of those farms, and it's considered large for a black farm, is about 250 acres. The largest farmer in this country The 2 farms out in Texas, that one family have over 4 million acres of farms. Probably the most familiar name that we know in terms of having a large farm here in Atlanta area is Ted Turner. And Ted Turner has over 2 million acres of farmland. So the farm we work on, or that I'm associated with, is a 1,685 acre farm, which is a large farm. And we don't farm on all of that. Some of that is reserved just for nature. We have about an 80 acre lake out there, and we have an extensive amount of wildlife. And so the USDA, or the US government, they do pay a lot of farmers to preserve land and keep it natural. They pay farmers to burn land, believe it or not. They pay farmers not to grow certain crops on land. And so it is a very interesting career.
You talked about the regenerative. What is, or how long does it take to regenerate the soil? And what are some of the various techniques? Are you bringing in new soil? Are you tearing up the old soil? And what crops are best produced in the regenerative soil? Or is there a transition crop while you're trying to recondition the soil?
Very good question. So it takes, at minimum, about a year to begin to regenerate your soil. I believe in no tilling, so I don't believe in breaking up the ground with a tiller or a plow. I believe in keeping the soil intact and adding layers and layers and layers of new plant material on top of it and allowing it to break down. And then that way your worms and your slugs and everything stay intact. But to answer your question, it takes about a year. And you ask if they're a transition crop. All of them are transitioning. You know, everything that's not being grown in that method is being grown in a conventional method. And conventional farming involves plowing the land. And when you till the soil, you're exposing and chopping up all your worms. You're bringing everything that's living up to the sun. Once it's exposed to the sun, it's going to kill it. That you're going to have to rotate your crops more often, because every time you till the soil, you're breaking up all the minerals and everything in the soil. And so crop rotation is necessary in this country because farmers till the soil. And the method of conventional agriculture is you till it, you fertilize it. And so when we use the word fertilizer, we might think that that's a positive thing, but you have to put a lot of nitrogen, you have to put a lot of phosphates in that soil when you till it. So when you till it, you got to use a lot of chemicals in order to, quote unquote, regenerate it. And then you plant the crop, and so you're eating soil that's heavily treated with fertilizers, which are bought from China and all across the world. And that's what goes into our soil, and that's what's growing our plants.
Does that negatively impact the environment when done in that method?
It negatively impacts the environment in two ways. One, it negatively impacts everything that's flying around. So that includes bees, all types of beneficial insects that are flying around. That impacts the air we breathe. When pesticide is sprayed, it drifts in the wind. We inhale it. It's known that some of these pesticides cause Parkinson's disease and cancers. And so it has a negative impact on humans, on insects, and on animals. And so even when it comes to animals, animals are, a lot of chemicals are used to raise farm animals, cows, chickens, and pigs, these animals are fed quite a few fertilizers or hormones to make them grow fast. That's just a fact. And so when you eat things that are eating things that are treated with chemicals, our bodies. Production of the peanut. But Antoine, definitely, and you can Google that. If you Google Antoine and pecans, Louisiana, and it's in Wikipedia, you'll see that he's from Louisiana. That's right.
And what is it necessary, what is a requirement for those particular crops, the cotton and the pecans, um, irrigation? And can you speak to the irrigation on the farms and how that impacts the row crops as opposed to the cotton?
Yeah, very good question. All living things need water. Would you agree with that? All living things need water. During the summer months, pecan tree, in order to get it to produce pecans, that tree requires about, one tree requires about 300 gallons of water a day. 2 months in the summer, certain times of year. So irrigation is extremely important in agriculture. And so you may ask, how do you get to where you're drawing that much water? Well, I'll share with you, we have 200 acres of pecans, and we do produce pecans profitably. Fortunately, on our land, we have about 5 wells, in different sections of the farm. So those wells are drawing from aquifers below the earth in order to produce that much water. So when you drive through those rural areas and you see those center pivots, that's what they call them, those long machines that look like irrigation machines, the water that powers those machines, which are powered by pumps, because there's a well down there, you have to have a pump on it that pumps that water at a certain rate to get that machine to move across those fields. Those center pivots cost millions of dollars in order to have that level of irrigation.
And they're extremely important when you start looking at valuation of farms and land, whether or not it's irrigated, if it's water accessible. I've seen people even do development where they may buy something that isn't irrigated and increase the value 40% by adding those items that he just talked about. So there's always opportunities, and unfortunately, the way my mind works, I try to tie everything back to value and what impacts and what it looks like. So those things are the kind of things that you take a look at and pay attention to when you're valuing land and doing rural type valuations in the farming space.
And let's keep in mind, America's different in terms of the resources we have here, the resources that farmers have. 80% of the farmers in the world, throughout the world, don't have irrigation systems. They depend on rain to water their crops. And so the methods that we use, the composting, that does reduce the amount of water that's needed. And although we have irrigation, part of my role is to implement the techniques that I practice that will reduce water usage. Because even wells run dry, okay? And so water, most of the water that's used in the world, really, believe it or not, is used for farm animals. Because cows and farm animals consume a lot of water. And it takes a lot of water to grow crops. And so it's not the water we drink that is most of the consumption, it's growing crops.
Is climate control a concern?
Well,
Global warming?
And so another word for regenerative agriculture is what they call climate smart practices, right?
Can't use that no more.
True. Otherwise, your funding be cut. So climate smart practices. And so the current administration, now you're making me nervous about the recording, climate smart practices has been challenged. So yes, to your question, how we grow our food, the amount of fertilizer application that's done, the use of water, the use of spraying pesticides, animals themselves, they do impact the environment, the atmosphere, and probably has a lot to do with the type of climate events that we see taking place in our nation now.
And now what I want to do is I want to open it up for questions for Jeffrey. I don't want to ignore Daniel, but Jeffrey was so gracious with his time, and he had another commitment. So I promised him I would get him in and out so he can make his next appointment. So if anybody has any questions for Jeffrey, Kim? And can you repeat the question,
we're
too?
paid to,
Can you repeat the question so that?
yeah, the question was, why are farmers paid to burn their land? All of us are familiar with wildfires that take place out west. And what makes those wildfires so dangerous is because, number one, there's a lot of density in the population, right? And so when a fire takes place like that, it impacts human life in that houses catch on fire. Well, lightning strikes have a lot to do with sparking a fire. Or it could be if someone started a fire and an ember just floats somewhere in land and set something on fire. When you burn the land, you're reducing what they call the fuel load that's in nature. So we've been burning our land in Albany for about 4 successive years. So when weeds just keep getting thick and thick and thick, and they die and get thick and thick, and things just keep falling over the years, and a match hits that, then you can create a very large fire. And fire is, in nature, is something else. The more you burn your land, when it catch fire, it doesn't burn as much. It doesn't burn as fast, right? And so you hear sometimes when you are listening to these events, they start fires to help stop fires. And that's very true. We input what we call fire breaks around the land. You basically take a plow and go around the area. And so that fire, when it gets to the dirt, it stops. And so the more you burn it, the less density you have as it relates to thatch, and the less probability that if a lightning strike, if somebody is careless with a fire and it catches on in an area, in a rural area where there's a lot of damage that could happen, we do what we call control burning. That's what they call it there. We control the burning so that in the event an event happens that's not intentional, it'll reduce the amount of damage a fire will cause.
What are the essential ingredients for composting?
Well, the simplest rule for composting is brown, green, brown, right? And so brown, when you think of brown, you cover the ground with leaves or pine straw first, or a combination of both. Then you add green. Green could be your grass clippings. It could be any type of green vegetation. It could also be vegetable and food scraps that you have. Then you always go brown on top of that, green, brown, green, brown, green. And there are a lot of different, some people buy compost mixers and all that kind of stuff. I just take a space and it could be as big as that little table over there. And I drop some leaves right there, and I drop some stuff on top of it, and I always cover up the green, always cover up the green. The key to composting is that you don't want to put anything in there that has grease in it, okay? Because grease will attract rodents. You don't put meat in there, okay? Only vegetation. Some people will, let's say, some people I know they'll steam some vegetables or something like that. If you steam some vegetables and you use only water, or if you bake the potato, didn't put any butter on it, and you want to throw it in there, that's probably pretty safe. But nothing with grease. And you hear a lot of stuff, can you compost bread and stuff like that? I don't compost bread because bread attracts pests. I don't want to put anything in my compost pile that will attract mice. And trust me, mice and rats are all around your house, whether you see them or not. And so you don't want to do anything to create that type of environment. And so it's okay to use grass clippings. All grass got seed in it. So that's why I said give it about a year for it all to break down, because there is a lot of seed in compost, and sometimes when it breaks down in the compost and you apply it in your garden, sometimes that seed will come up a little bit. But if you give it about a year, it'll break down pretty good.
Clarence?
How far north in Georgia is it feasible to grow pecans? And then the other question is, a lot of the counties now, especially on the Macon, they have put a limit on prescribed burns. And have you run into that? And is there any way to work around that type of issue?
All farming is based on what's called hardiness zones. Okay, so Georgia in general, especially North Georgia, they may be in zone 7B or 7A or something. When you get down to middle Georgia near Fort Valley, it gets into 8 or so. And then if you get further south, it's about 8B before you get to Florida 9. And so if you notice, most apples come out of North Georgia because apples need to get a little cool. It's the cold air that makes that plant bud, right? And most pecans are grown in middle Georgia and below. You don't have many pecans growing in north, not pecan producers, growing in North Georgia. So, Mother Nature is something else. Every state and every region has its own special thing that it grows. Like in Vidalia, for example, the soil in Vidalia it's the composition of that soil that grows that sweet Vidalia onion that grows nowhere else in the state. Although they have modified that onion so you can almost get a sweet onion anywhere else. Cordele, Georgia, watermelon capital of the world. It's the sandy loam soil in Cordele, Georgia, that grows those watermelons the way they grow in Cordele. Now, we grow watermelon in Albany as well, but every state, just like North Carolina, you don't have a lot of tobacco growers in Georgia, but they grow a lot of tobacco in North Carolina and some spaces in South Carolina. Actually, the largest producer of peaches in the country is in South Carolina. They grow more peaches in South Carolina than they do in Georgia, although we're known as, our women are called Georgia peaches, and it's the peach state. Most of it's produced in South Carolina. I think you had one more piece to that question.
The limit on prescribed burns for a lot of counties, north of Macon, have you run into that?
I'm not familiar with that area north of Macon in terms of the control burns or how much burning they do there. But I imagine they would do that in that area also if they have a lot of land area.
With the burning, do it give the soil more nutrition?
Oh yeah, it's very healthy for the soil. It's something about that ash that when it burns and it goes back into the soil, that it puts nitrogen back into the soil. I actually burn piles of tree limbs and clean natural products, leaves and that type of thing, let it sit for a while, let the rain hit it, let it, get some ash in there. And I sprinkle it around trees. I put a little bit in my garden bed. I don't put too much, but I mix it in my soil, and I find that the plants love it. So burnt wood is, our ancestors been using that for years.
I have some customers that'll burn their whole lawn and then come back
Oh, yeah. You know, I prefer to burn my lawn too. But, you know, the city of Atlanta is about burning. But that's one of the best weed preventions you can do is to be able to burn your lawn and burn those weeds. And that's better than using spectricide and weed and feed and stuff like that.
What do you use as an accelerant when you burn in the grass?
A match. Or you can apply an accelerant. You know, you don't want to apply gasoline. Gasoline is too strong. But those gentlemen that come out to, they're professional. You actually hire professional burners, you know. And so those guys, the county or the city waits a specific day to issue that permit because they're looking at the weather. And they have to, when we burn on our farm, we have to burn in a way that the wind is not flowing toward the city of Albany that day. Because the city of Albany doesn't want the smoke from the farms that are outside the city. So it's a huge science to it, especially in terms of wind flow and the way that wind goes.
Any more questions for Jeffrey before we?
That's a very good question. Cover crops are very important. I primarily use clover as a cover crop. A lot of farmers use that, especially those that have animals, because when you get two benefits. You're covering the land, the soil erosion, and then your animals enjoy eating it for their nutritional value as well. Red is prettiest to me. I like the red. We have tons of red clover. So, but you know, the white clover, some of it's yellow, but the red is the prettiest. But it's all the same though.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
I think one more question. Yes. Yeah. I was just mentioning, there was a question about irrigation. Yes, sir. And I would say that 80% of all the farmers in the world don't have irrigation systems. They pray for rain.
Can y'all give Jeffrey a round of applause?
Thank you. I'm gonna stay here a little while because I want to listen to this gentleman.
So now we have.
I don't have a personal website, but I can give you several websites that you can go to that will refer you to the organization I work with. And so if you just Google new communities at Cypress Pond, I know that's a long word, but new communities, if you Google new communities, Cypress Pond, and put in Albany, Georgia, once you get to that website and start playing around with it, it'll lead you to several other websites that you can go to. And then I would encourage you to Google Shirley Sherrod, or Charles Sherrod, the husband Charles Sherrod. And there's an amazing amount of information on the internet regarding their history and their work, which is extremely significant.
And if you ever get the opportunity to hear Ms. Sherrod speak, she is absolutely amazing. And Reverend Sherrod had a saying that they have on some shirts that they sell that, if I messed it up, Jeffrey, straighten it out. But I believe all power is through the land and ultimate power is through God.
That's right.
So, again, it's why this outside the barn, why the agriculture, why the appraising is so significant and important for us to be able to move forward. And I'm very grateful and thankful to have worked with Jeffrey over the last several years, and for us to be, well, he's been in the ag space longer than me, but to be showing up here and then to, I guess we ran into each other at a couple conferences. He's like, "What you doing here? What appraising got to do with farming?" So I was able to connect the dots for him, and I'm just thankful. And next up is Daniel Rayford. Daniel is with Journey Drones, and Journey Drones is a division of Journey Steel. And Daniel is the next generation or evolution. And so what he does is he ties together the next generation in drones in the application in agriculture and in appraising. There's multiple uses for the drones, for the geospatial measuring. You can pick fruit with drones. You can spray pesticides with drones. You can do inspections with drones. You can herd cattle with drones. Again, Daniel knows all about the drones. I'm just running my mouth, so I'm going to shut up and let Daniel go ahead and do his thing.
Good morning, everybody, or afternoon. Good morning still. Yeah, like that said, I run Journey Drones. We are the branch of a 15-year-old construction company. We're based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. We currently in Ohio are dumping a lot of resources and time into regulating airspace for drones. So we are, well, I'm probably the youngest person in the room, so I do get the reference. We're literally turned into the Jetsons. As our owner, which is my mother, she happens to be my mother, she likes to say she's the Flintstones and I am the next generation, which would be the Jetsons. So yeah, my goal is to bridge the gap between our normal processes into the future, which helps us become a lot more efficient and safer. We utilize a lot of unmanned systems to do that, specifically drones as well as a few robots when that case comes. Like I said, we've been in business 15 years. We strongly stand on the principle of build as you climb, which is why I'd like to thank Thad for having me out here. I love to partner with Thad. He believes in pretty much all the same things that we do. When I say build as you climb, we believe it's not only an opportunity, but a responsibility to reach back and pull up our people as we continue to make opportunities for ourselves. We love to provide those same opportunities for the next generation or those who don't have the same opportunities. So we love to partner with 10KMA or 10K Appraisers because, like I said, we firmly believe in building as we climb. We can't do it alone, and it's not fun doing it alone. So we love creating the opportunities as we grow. I'm a visual guy, so I don't like to do a lot of talking. So, like I said, at Journey Drones, we utilize, I don't know if you guys are hot or not, but it's a pretty nice little breeze for you. But yeah, at Journey Drones, we utilize a lot of different unmanned systems. This right here is an example of a multi-rotor drone. We utilize these Mavics for pretty much multi-purposes. A lot of drones that we utilize have specific use cases and specific things that they specialize in. So as you can tell, this is not a drone that would be spraying pesticides. This is more of our inspection. This is more of our first case that we would go to when we show up to a job and decide what needs to be done. This is typically what we use on the construction side. We do a lot of inspections of pretty much anything a drone can fly over or through. We like to take a look at it. Those type of multi-rotor drones gives us the ability to go into smaller spaces. I'm not sure how familiar you are with drones, but they do vary in size. That's a pretty versatile one that allows us to pretty much at least get a baseline of what we will need to attack a certain mission. We do also utilize various other drones, which could be hybrids. Those allow us to cover large ranges of areas. So, for example, a 1,600-acre farm would need a long-range drone to scan that type of field. Obviously, the spraying drones apply to farming. Those are very specific use cases, like I said. A lot of you who own farms or deal in the farming space probably are already familiar with that. And then not only is the one I just demonstrated a multi-rotor, that's a mapping and imaging drone. The mapping and imaging is probably the most widely requested service from the drone industry. The data you collect from these drones allow you to pretty much do anything and assess anything that you may possibly be looking for out of an inspection or survey. Well, you don't need me up here to tell you that AI is everywhere. We utilize AI already, and AI's limit is, actually AI pretty much doesn't have a limit. We currently use AI to post-process all the data that we collect. We use AI in some of the drones that we use. Some of the drones don't need me to fly them at all. AI can be programmed into some of these drones, and they can take off, perform a mission, come back, and give us all the details themselves. And then the future of AI is pretty much limitless. Not only will AI be able to perform those same tasks on drones, we will be dealing with swarms of drones soon, which sounds scary, but it's come. That's the future, and these are tools that we have to try to utilize as we continue to grow in this field. Some of the things that we do with our drones, like I said, we like to call ourselves an all-in-one aerial solution. There is not a job that we will shy away from. We are tackling the delivery space. We help on, like I said, the farm and agriculture space. We help track wildlife. We have the potential to hurt wildlife with drones. And then we have the ability to do crop analysis, plant analysis. We can help track flooding or your irrigation process. We have the ability to check soil health. I mean, the possibilities are pretty much endless. If there's something that you're looking for, our drones can pretty much provide that service.
One of the services that I like to talk about that I'm pretty sure he's not going to mention, but one of our other partners is Red Bib, and Red Bib is Amazon, Uber Eats for farmers, delivering fresh farm to table, and they are working on a collaboration to be able to deliver and source those fresh foods farm to table with the drones as well. So we did a presentation in North Carolina a couple weeks ago to the North Carolina black farmers, and these are all resources to modernize the farming process in order to update, as well as utilizing those information that we want to also modernize the appraisal process through data science and data-driven analysis, evidence-based data-driven analysis. So the other part of that for us is utilizing the drones to be able to do the inspection to make it more comprehensive. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, yeah, you said it perfectly. Yeah, like I said, we are trying to break into the delivery space. That's another way that we feel like we're helping to impact the world. Because like Jeffrey said, the foods that we buy at the grocery store aren't necessarily the best for us. So us being able to deliver from farm to table or farm to home is huge for us. So not only do we want to provide a more efficient solution, we pride ourselves, well, we have a passion to help impact the world in any way that we can. But yeah, so another aspect that we also provide is the marketing space. Like I said, we will tackle anything that a drone can fly over or do, whether it's just taking photos or videos, or we actually help you to get the insights that you're looking for. And then obviously, like I said, we are a construction company, so that's where our basis started. We are very knowledgeable in the construction space. I love coming to these events and coming down south in general, or traveling with Thad, because like I said, we do like to be knowledgeable about what we're doing. And I learned so much about farming and agriculture when I travel to these events that we are very confident in the solutions that we provide in that space as well. So just a brief overview, because this isn't a construction talk. This is just an overview of kind of how we go about our processes. We have curated, or we do curate our own strategic flight plans for when we do come out to fields, to real estate, to property, to do an inspection or evaluation or anything. We strategically plan our flights so that we can actually provide the data that you're looking for. We take that data and we use a 3D environment where we are able to stitch that data together. So whether this is a field or a structure, we actually allow, we create the opportunity to be able to visualize whatever it is that we inspected or surveyed in the palm of your hands on your computer, so that you can have a more in-depth or visual or analysis of what it is that you're looking for. And then we use that data that's where our AI comes into place. We use that data to customize a report. Excuse me. We use that data to customize a report to whatever it is, whatever specifications that you're looking for. So we don't like to say that we specialize in one thing. We have the ability to give you the insights for whatever it is that you may be having a trouble with, that you may need solutions from us for. So basically, drones are a more efficient way. Drones are inevitable. They are being widely used. They will be used more in the future to take on whatever processes that we can get manual. Whatever manual processes we have now that can be replaced with drones, we are heading in that direction. So our goal is to, this is where the 10K comes in. Our goal is to help build the tools, help give you the tools necessary to learn everything you need to about drones, whether you actually want to be a drone pilot or you may have one that you want to learn how to fly, or you have your own use case that you may see that's not available out there that you'd like to pursue. We do teach how to become licensed so that you are knowledgeable, because the fines for putting a drone in the air somewhere that you're not supposed to are very hefty. We give you the tools necessary to pass the Part 107, which gives you the ability to file authorization and know what the do's and don'ts of flying drones.
And the drones are actually a career in and of themselves, so we use it as a basis to get the students interested in careers, in farming, and in appraising. But also, most of the kids are using gaming, so we have the ability to teach it the basics in the gamification on our learning management system platform to be able to get them started. And we start with the very, very first class is drone safety, because these drones are extremely expensive. So before you get to crash a drone, you have to take drone safety and learn the ins and outs and commit to not tearing up the drone. And we also have them insured just for that reason.
Correct. And from there, we have created Journey Drones Academy, which not only starts with the safety and the knowledge, but it also teaches you how to fly the drones, how to become a confident operator. And then we also give you the tools to do, like I said, we want to build as we climb. So we give you all the tools necessary to create your own career path in the drone industry. So we can continue to further the field. If there are applications that the kids may have, or some of you may have, that you don't see being used right now that you would like to pursue, we want to give you those tools. And that's what our Drone Academy is built on. If you scan our QR code, you can find our website, our social medias. I believe my contact information is on there. If it's not, it's on the screen. I'm also here all day, so feel free to approach me with, I can give you my personal contact. If you want to reach out to me directly, we can talk more about drones, but I will open it up for questions that you may have. Yes. Right now, so we are at the very early stages of our academy. So right now, yeah, our course costs is based on just our current virtual self-paced courses that we offer, which are ranged from $100 to $200 currently. We are continuing to expand so that we can offer more hands-on or virtual kind of hybrid courses. Those will probably range anywhere to the $400 to $800 per person range for those who prefer the old school style of being more hands-on in the classroom session.
Can y'all give Jeffrey one more round of applause for you?
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Thad.
Thank you.
All right.